Peace and blessings. This is Rayesa Gheewala, the Divorced Muslimah Coach. I'm on today because this topic, this title of this live has been coming up in lots of different places in the clients that I coach, in the groups that I run. And then even in my own work, even in the journey of my own self-discovery and understanding and realizing where I came from and what I'm in right now and how that is going to affect my future. Hey, Mana Kumata, welcome. Thalassa, welcome. Okay, so the whole topic of today is really about, have you had to betray yourself in order to survive? So what do I mean by that? Meaning, like, have there been times in your life that, but what I'm talking about is in childhood, but just to kind of make it relevant, what I'm referring to is, have there been times when you've had to suppress yourself, bite your tongue, you've had to do all this self-editing in your mind, and be very calculated in what you're going to say, how you're going to say it, when you're going to say it, because you're trying to manage the outcome. You're trying to manage other people's feelings, other people's responses, other people's, outcomes pretty much, right? So that's what I'm referring to. And where that begins is in our childhood, is in terms of whether or not we were given the freedom of expression, whether or not we were forced to squash our feelings, our expressions, our emotions, because the adults around us couldn't handle how it made them feel, right? Because it always looked as if, a lot of times it looks as if the child is not behaving accordingly, is not behaving appropriately. And why I put emphasis on the word behave, because behavior, we operate as if behavior is what makes someone else's behavior is what makes you feel the way it does. And that's not the case. So in order for you to feel okay, or not to feel stress or anxiety or whatever it is that's coming up, you get that person to conform. You get that person to squash whatever is in yourself. So as children, many times we don't like the way someone is behaving, and we don't even recognize that behavior is a symptom. It's not the problem. And so have there been times where you couldn't speak up, or you couldn't express, or you couldn't say what was on your mind, or you couldn't say what you needed to say? You couldn't ask for your needs because you're afraid to get yelled at, or you're afraid to get in trouble, right? These are the things that I'm talking about. Betraying yourself means not able to speak your truth, not able to ask for what you need, not able to express yourself because of fear or worry or anxiety of how someone is going to respond. So when that happens in childhood, we get conditioned that way, right? And we go according in life as if we have to operate that way. We have to perform in a certain way. We have to behave in a certain way where we're accepted, where we're acknowledged, where we're validated, where we're valued. Oh, good girl, you did this. Good girl. Oh, you messed this up. That's not good. That's bad. And that's very simplistic, yes, but the messages by our response of what children receive on what makes them valued, what makes them appreciated, what makes them good, what brings them the attention-seeking things, right, that kids do, that they need for their nurturing. So if you've had to do that in your childhood, and reality is that all of us have, right, because our parents only do the best they can with what they know, and they are just repeating their own conditioning that they received. So likelihood is that you are repeating those same patterns as an adult in your adult life, in your adult relationships. And the ones that are going to bring it out for you are your intimate relationships, right? It started with us and our parents, and then it goes into the spousal relationship, and then it also gets triggered by the parental relationship. So why am I even bringing this up? Why am I even talking about this? Because so many of us have experienced this, that as we are still running those same patterns of how to squash ourselves, or how to minimize ourselves, or feeling compelled that we have to squash, to minimize, to oppress our own self, to negate our own self, that's a form of self-hatred. That's a form of self-oppression, and that really harms yourself. It builds up a lot of internal toxicity, and it makes it look like it's someone else who is being toxic to you, and we're not understanding our own patterns, right? And that we have autonomy and agency and control over that. That's only if we recognize it, though. So these living this way causes stress, causes anxiety, causes confusion, causes not being able to know how to make decisions for yourself, because you're not able to trust yourself. You're not able to trust your intuition of what is right for you. Even if it feels wrong, you don't know the difference between, acting on your feelings and acting on your intuition and trusting your intuition. And you live in this mental fog, and you live in this state of confusion. You just become really resentful. There's a lot of also, when you are, still playing out these patterns as an adult in your relationship, there's a lot of underlying thinking that's going on underneath, that's clouding the mind, that's clouding your judgments, related to guilt, related to obligation, and related to fears. Fears because you're afraid to lose the validation and approval of the person that you need it from, or you think you need it from. A lot of guilty thinking, or guilty or feeling obligated that if you don't conform or comply with what someone is asking you to do or to behave, that you're wrestling with internally, because your intuition is trying to creep up, yet you've been so used to and conditioned to squashing it down and quieting that inner voice, that even though it's still an inner struggle and it hurts, you're used to it, so you keep carrying on that way. Well, this leads to so much, such a detriment to your emotional and spiritual well-being, because you're denying your soul, you're harming your soul, you're hurting yourself, not just spiritually, but emotionally and then physically. Feeling, stress or anxiety, or, falling into depressive states, the feelings or the emotions that you're battling, or even suppressing, are really just a signal or an indicator of what's coming up for you internally. It's just giving you a message of what your soul needs, but you're not able to listen to it. You're not able to give yourself or your soul what it needs, because you've been so used to complying and just behaving in the way that you've been expected to, because if you don't, you will not be emotionally safe. You won't be able to survive, and we all need a sense of safety to survive, right? There's physical safety, and then there's emotional safety and stability that comes from internally, and what we attach to and what we latch onto. So living this way, and most of us won't recognize it until we start to do the work of introspection, of self-reflection, and looking internally for what do our feelings mean about ourselves, about our life, and how that can be an indication of where the issues lie. Because all of your issues, the problems that you're dealing with, are not coming from another person or from externally. They're always coming from within. So that means that the solutions are also within. But remember, if you've been trained to not trust yourself, you've been trained to rely on others for approval, validation, advice, and what to do, rather than you inherently knowing that you're going to know what to do when you need to know it, then then that's a horrible, horrible way to live. It's actually a lot of self-loathing. It's very self-toxic. And the misunderstanding and the irony behind it is that, you know, you end up falling into this trap of it looking like it's because the other person, and if they were like this, then I would be better. If they did this, then I would feel better. And we fall into that vicious cycle, and it hurts us and it harms us. So that's where the answers are. If you want to know more about this and you want to know how to understand and see and learn, you know, your own patterns, this is a lifelong journey of self-discovery, because once you focus on that, then you can see the patterns that we've learned in childhood. They were just like, you can think of them as programming. Hey Aisha, hey Zarina, House Dictionary, and Eleanor, thanks for joining. Let me know what comes up for you while you're listening to this. And I know even if you join midway, there's a lot of important information in here, because the last thing I want to point out is that you won't be able to see your own patterns on your own, because you can't uncover what you don't know. Because you know why we can't see it? Number one, it's a program. It's our programming, our condition that is subconsciously ingrained. Number one. Number two, your ego is not going to allow you to see it. You're constantly going to be battling your ego, and you can't do that alone. You can't do that on your own. You need a mentor. You need a guide. You need somebody who is knowledgeable spiritually and emotionally to be able to help you navigate and help you spot out where your ego thinking or your nafs thinking is coming up and not allowing you to move forward. Because remember, the ego wants you to stay in your comfort zone, where what you already know, and that's what it's going to creep up, and it's going to build up a lot of resistance when you get out of your comfort zone, and when you try to learn and see things differently than what you have been your whole life, and really go on this journey in this path of uncovering or even discovering who you really truly are. And what by that I mean is your true fitra self, the way Allah created you, the way that He sent you on this earth before all of the environmental, including our parents and our teachers and people around us, I don't mean corrupted in a negative, intentional way. But I do mean corrupted. That fitra got corrupted, unknowingly or unintentionally, back to our connection to Allah. So this is the type of work that I do in my mastermind. This is the type of work that we do in excavating all of the layers and layers and layers of habitual, subconscious thinking and programming, and peeling all that back, and then taking a look at what is it that you're going to keep and what is it that you're just going to shed because it's unhelpful, it's unnecessary, and it was developed when you were a child with immature thinking. And now as a conscious adult, mature adult, you can consciously choose how you want to respond in every situation, rather than your thinking being clouded and your judgment being clouded by emotion. All right. Hey Rehab, Wobbly Duck, Online Quran. I hope that was helpful, and I will answer your questions. So please leave them here, because this is terrifying and scary work, because like I said, your ego does not want you to get out of your comfort zone, and this will definitely catapult you in your comfort zone. And so you're going to ignore it, avoid it, run away from it, and just, but it's still going to be there within, gnawing at you. I think we all know what it is that we need. We all know that what it is that is going to be helpful to us. We just don't know how to give it to ourselves. And if that's what you'd like, that's what you'd need help and support with, send me a message, send me a DM, and let's chat, and I'll share with you how you can be a part of my mastermind. And speaking of that, I have to go hop on in my mastermind to support the women who are in there in exactly what I just laid out for you today. Take care. Peace and blessings.